Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. I see there's a great story this morning on boxingscene.com where Joe Cortez, a guy whose opinion I value greatly, the Hall of Fame referee, right? The referee, quite frankly, who made the Manny Pacquiao, Juan Manuel Marquez series of fights possible, right? By looking at Marquez and allowing that fight to continue after Marquez was being blown out in the first round. Joe Cortez believes that Amir Khan is simply too small for Saul Alvarez, right? That Alvarez is going to get on his front foot, find Khan, destroy Khan. Then once Alvarez starts landing, it's over because of the size gap, right? The reasoning is that Amir Khan started off at lighter weights and now is stepping up. There's no rehydration clause in the contract. Cortez believes that Alvarez is probably going to weigh around 170 the night of the fight, right? Understand 170 is 2 pounds beyond the super middleweight limit. Now, let me just say to Joe Cortez and others, and I disagree strongly with his opinion here, right? I personally am expecting Amir Khan to come in and to dominate the fight. Now, whether he gets stopped, that depends on whether Canelo is able to put his punches together. But all I'm saying is, as long as the rounds are being scored, I'm expecting Amir Khan to dominate the fight. Just understand, we'll pick 2 recent fights of Canelo's, right? 2 relatively recent fights. He doesn't fight that often, right? The Miguel Cotto fight, right? That's so recent. That was his last fight. And the Floyd Mayweather fight. What people need to realize is that the Cotto and Mayweather that you're seeing today is just a portion of their careers. Did you know both of those guys started in much lighter weight classes? Right? I believe both of these guys, I know Mayweather came up through the 130s, right? I know Miguel Cotto fought several fights at 140, right? I've just named you 2 guys who've taken on recent Saul Alvarez, who went the distance with him, who did not hit the canvas once. In other words, you can't hurt what you can't find, right? I'll agree, Canelo's one of the hardest punchers pound for pound in the sport. Right? I've been saying that here online for years. I just don't believe he's going to be able to find Amir Khan. Understand, too, these 2 future Hall of Famers, Cotto and Mayweather, understand neither Cotto nor Mayweather has the hand speed that Amir Khan has. Right? Amir Khan is lightning fast. Understand, this isn't going to be a gunfight where the only bullets being fired are coming from Canelo. No, the bullets are going to be two-way. Canelo has never seen this level of hand speed. I don't know how he'd prepare for it. What would he do? Hire Manny Pacquiao and Gary Russell as sparring partners? Not going to happen, right? So, I think Canelo's going to be a deer caught in headlights. Keep in mind, Canelo is not a fast starter as it is. Right? Amir Khan is. When did he knock down Marcus Maidana? Right? Amir Khan gets out the gate quickly. Given that Saul Alvarez doesn't have the fastest foot speed in the world, we'll all agree he's the heavier puncher, but doesn't have the fastest foot speed in the world. Understand, he's going to be down big early, and then the burden's going to be on Khan to simply keep his lateral movement going, right? To use his hand speed. Understand, Khan has an excellent jab, right? Nothing's going to dissuade an opponent from trying to leap inside with power shots than a good jab. I think Khan is a very live underdog here. If the fight goes the distance, as popular as Saul Alvarez is, as many decisions, close decisions, that he's received, the Erislandy Lara decision, the Trout decision, right? I'm just telling you in terms of volume, punches landed. If Khan fights a Khan fight, right? Khan should win if it goes to the scorecards. The bet I'm recommending there is Khan to win the fight, the underdog, hedged with Canelo by KO, right? Understand, in my opinion, you don't have to pay for Canelo to win the fight. Just Canelo by KO, because I don't think he's going to be able to remotely come close to dealing with Amir Khan's foot speed, right? Understand, with Khan, it's not just hand speed. It's foot speed. All right, let's talk about Sullivan Barrera, right? I'm not going to make a prediction on this fight, but Sullivan Barrera against Andre Ward. Now, let me just say, one word pops into my mind when I see Sullivan Barrera, and that's the word crisp, right? I believe his secret sauce, the secret to his success, and I understand he just stopped Karol Marat with some uppercuts. Okay, great. But the secret to his success is a very short, very powerful, very well-timed right hand. Right? As I look at films of him, and I know you see him throwing the left, he has a left jab, he certainly throws left hooks. But if I were fighting him, the punch I would focus on is that very short right hand. It catches guys by surprise, right? They're expecting something with a curve on it. And somehow, a guy will even have a hand up. Barrera is able to sneak it in. It's straight, it's short, and it has gas on it, right? Also, Barrera, who is trained by Gennady Golovkin's trainer, Abel Sanchez, and that's very important because Barrera has been around the gym with Golovkin, right? There's a video up by Dante's Boxing Nation of Golovkin showing Barrera his technique on the inside, right? You know the way it is. A guy like Barrera is hanging around Golovkin. He's unbeaten himself. And then he's thinking, hey, if I'm working out with Golovkin, how much harder could fighting this guy be? Right? Whether the guy is Andre Ward or someone else, right? One thing that leaps out to me at Sullivan Barrera, who, by the way, is older than Andre Ward, right? Don't be fooled by the name recognition. Ward's 31, Barrera's 33. One thing that leaps out at me is just how mentally tough this guy is. He's very mentally tough, right? He's on his front foot against Jeff Left Hook Lacey. Now, I know Jeff Lacey's not who he once was, but power's the last to go, right? You're dealing with dynamite when you're dealing with Jeff Lacey's left hook. And here is Barrera in front of him. He has his game plan. He thinks he has that left hook neutralized. He's going about his business, right? This is a guy who's older, who's methodical. He's a craftsman. He trusts his tools. He's unafraid, right? Now, let me just say, I think he's going to be one of the tougher opponents Andre Ward has faced, right? Unbeaten guy in his early 30s, very short punches, world-class trainer, right? World-class gym. I think a guy like this is going to be tough, right? From Cuba, right? Operates out of Miami, right? Has taken the long road here. He's not a guy who had a lot of money thrown at him earlier, right? So this is the guy from the less traveled side of the street, right? Who's done it the hard way, right? And who's in with guys with punches, and he's going about his business, right? When he gets in a rhythm, he's kind of a rhythm fighter. When he gets in a rhythm, he's awfully tough. Understand, he's not a mid-range hooker, right? He throws too many short, punches to be what I would call a mid-range hooker. But he's a mid-range fighter, right? He likes to be mid-range. He doesn't want you to be too close to him. He doesn't want you to be too far away from him, right? He's formulaic. Now that's the hole in his game, right? I believe that, fighters need to have some craftsmanship. This guy clearly has that, right? He has a game plan. There's always a method to the madness. But I also believe that boxing's an art, right? And by that I mean it's not connect the dots. There are going to be times where you're on the road and you just have to go by feeling. You just have to make it up as you go along. You're going to see things you didn't quite expect to see. You have to make the adjustments on the fly, so to speak. Right? This guy to me is tight. He's not fluid. Right? There's a difference. Right? I get the feeling that if you introduce some response to his plan that he didn't quite expect, he freezes. Right? He has to reprocess. Right? He's not doing things on the fly. He doesn't quite know how to adjust. Right? I know the TV commentators disagreed with me here. I have the video up in my favorites if you want to look at the fight. But that Karo Murat fight's interesting because Murat's a little bit more fluid than him. Right? So you'll notice Murat, in the early rounds especially, is the guy actually dictating the tempo. Right? He's the guy who's trying to walk down Sullivan Barrera. Right? And Barrera's looking at him and is stiff. Right? He's not a guy who can just read movement and then can say, hey, let me go in this direction. In other words, it has to be laid out. You have to give him a script, or he has to write a script before the fight. Then he's in there in the scene and he's doing his lines. Right? If you're a co-star and you change the script a little bit, you ad-lib a little bit, he's not the guy who can ad-lib with you. Right? To me, that's the opening for Andre Ward. Because Andre Ward is fluid. Right? The question with Andre Ward, and it's a big question, especially since this guy is much better than Paul Smith, Ward's last opponent, right, is whether Andre Ward, as fluid as he is rusty or not. Right? Because Andre hasn't been in the ring that often of late. Right? So, if it's prime Andre Ward, I think Andre Ward would be too fluid for this guy. Go back to the Andre Ward, Mikhail Kessler fight. You're going to notice that Andre Ward's outside on Mikhail Kessler at times in that fight. He's just moving too much for Kessler, who is kind of like this guy. Right? Straight lines. Formulaic. Not an ad-libber. Right? So Andre Ward takes Kessler out of his comfort zone. He's moving around. Then, of course, that fight features Ward coming inside, alleged headbutts, really more Ward being inside, Kessler not able to deal with it. Right? The unpredictability of Ward's actions. He's outside, lateral movement. Oh, he's inside. He's up under my chin. He's outside, lateral movement. Completely destabilized Mikhail Kessler. Now here you have a guy, Sullivan Barrera, who likes the fight paced a certain way and who likes you to be at a certain distance. Right? Now don't get me wrong. He makes adjustments as the fight goes on. You won't see an uppercut in the Karo Murat fight until a few rounds in. And then it's devastating. Right? So he's a guy reading you. But all I'm saying is he prefers structure. The girlfriend you had who had to plan a schedule, right? We're going to go to this restaurant. We're going to go to this after party. We're going to be home by this time. That girl, that's who this guy is, right? As opposed to the girl you're with who's like, hey, let's just play it by ear and stuff like that. This guy doesn't play it by ear. So you're going to see structure against fluidity, right? I'll concede Barrera's been fighting more. Barrera's underrated by the public. They don't seem to realize that this guy trains with Golovkin, that this guy's unbeaten, that Karo Murat was a mandatory, right? Was an elimination fight. That this guy's fought people like Jeff Lacey. So this Ward-Barrera fight is going to be very entertaining. Let me just say a couple of things about Andre Ward. People need to realize it. Andre Ward years ago won his gold medal at light heavyweight. Right? An argument can be made that he stayed at super middle too long. Right? That light heavy would have allowed him to eat dessert and would have allowed his body to fill out a little bit more. Would have given him better stamina. Right? You can only starve your body for so long. Both of these guys are huge fighters. Right? I believe Ward's 6 feet, 6'1". Sullivan Barrera 6'2". Right? So just understand, as everyone asked the question of, hey, can Andre Ward handle light heavy? He came up in the amateurs as a light heavy. He won the gold medal as a light heavy. Also, there's a group of you out there who believe that Andre Ward can't punch. Let's hope Sullivan Barrera has done his homework and realizes that Andre Ward's right hand feels fine. Right? Post-surgery. Ward was going around with a partially torn shoulder for years. This is as the public started to learn that he was one of the very best in the sport pound for pound. Right? Well, now, let's think it through. That shoulder's prepared. That shoulder's been repaired. Right? Prepared and repaired. Right? Let me just say, Paul Smith didn't seem to fully understand what hit him when Ward faced him. Right? Ward's going to have a lot more power than you remember. And because Barrera is best at mid-range, not long range or short range, Ward's going to have an opportunity here to sit down on his punches if he can dodge Barrera's very short, very crisp right hand. So this is going to be an excellent fight. I'm not going to pick a winner here. What I am going to say, though, is this fight, in my opinion, is going to be better than advertised. It's a fight between two unbeaten fighters. Right? At stake is a fight against Sergey Kovalev, according to reports. Right? Understand, Kovalev himself is unbeaten. So you have a box-off here between two unbeaten fighters for a crack and an unbeaten champion. Right? I believe the winner is going to be you and me, the boxing fan. Anyway, that's how I see it. Let me hear from you. Leave your comments for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. Thanks for stopping by.